So I've done a review of the Steam Deck. I've also talked about the accessories that I picked up for it. But what I haven't talked about so far is the games that I'm playing on it. Well, I kind of teased a little bit of that in my review. But in this video, I'm going to talk about the games that I both already own and I'm playing on the Steam Deck, and a couple of games that I picked up for the Steam Deck just because, man, it just plays almost everything perfectly. But we're going to go ahead and get into that and so much more in this video. So let's get into it.
This wasn't written with your comfort in mind. Nah. Made my decision, wasn't tough to decide. Nah. Me and my boys, we get it done every time. Gotta earn it, you can't just jump in the line. You'll get rushed to the side. I top my division, I've been building since I started. In the parking lot, I parked it. I came in while picking targets. My career cannot be tarnished. I'm a champion regardless. Celebrate, but this is a different kind of lucha party. We are not alike.
Okay, before we dive into this video, if you enjoy the content I put out, make sure you like the video, sub to the channel if you haven't already, and also support the work that we do over on Patreon or here on channel memberships. And we also got merch on Teespring and TeePublic if you want to pick up some shirts, hats, and all kinds of different swag. And also, if you want, we do have a Discord server, so if you want to talk about the Steam Deck, gaming, tech, or just about anything, then head on over to the Discord server or join the Guilded server as well. But all that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the topic that we're all here for, which is talking about the Steam Deck. And here's the thing. The games that I have been playing, it's a collection of them. Off the top, the one I really want to talk about that I've been putting the most time into has been God of War on PC. Now, I have this on PlayStation 4, and also I played on my PlayStation 5, and I enjoyed the game when it came out in 2018, which I got a review copy back then. I did a whole review of it, and then I got another review copy when it came to Steam, and I've been really loving it. You know, when I play it on my ultra wide monitor, it looks absolutely fantastic. But the idea that I can play such an amazing AAA title on the Steam Deck and run it at 60 frames per second, and it still looks glorious on that screen. And even when I connect it to my 4K monitor, it can look really, really decent. It is just mind-blowing. I mean, it controls well. I haven't really run into like any type of like stuttering or issues or anything like that when I'm playing God of War on the Steam Deck, but it's been an absolute joy just playing such an amazing game. Now, granted, I have had opinions about God of War before, like the current, this is what, God of War technically 4, if you want to go by like chronological order. I've had my issues with that because I kind of really liked God of War Ascension as well as God of War 3, and just going to the soul style combat to me was kind of something I didn't initially like at first, but it's something that grew upon me. And it's just a change, you know, it's just they had to change it up because that old formula was getting old, and that was from a bygone era. But I've really been enjoying my time playing that on my Steam Deck. It's been absolutely phenomenal. Another game I want to talk about that I've been playing on the Steam Deck has been none other than Doom and Doom Eternal. These have been so fun. So Doom 2016 is just... there could be no wrong with that game. It was just absolutely fantastic, top to bottom, controls, graphics, the soundtrack. Oh my God, that soundtrack was absolutely pulse-poundingly insane, and I absolutely loved it. And then when Doom Eternal came out, which is another game that I did a review of, that game was just, it took it up to a whole new ante. It was just absolutely insane, and I absolutely loved it. And so just being able to play both of these games on the Steam Deck, really, I don't think I've run into any frame rate issues with those either, and running at 60 frames per second has been absolutely a joy. Yeah, you know, playing the AAA titles, you're going to get, you know, from an hour and a half to 2 hours of battery life, but, you know, that's why I've got power banks, I've got my chargers around, and honestly, with the way that I play games now, like, yes, I've got a gaming PC set up, you know, I've got the desktop, I've got a whole nother room that's another setup over there with the gaming laptop, I've got all the consoles that are out, but realistically, my time to game is so minuscule that if I'm not reviewing a game, then I'm usually playing the game within like a small chunk of time because I have my daughter with me who's a toddler. So being able to just jump in and play both Dooms, like, it's amazing. It's such a like, you know, like I don't even have the words for it. It's like it's so amazing. I just love doing. God, I love those games. So anyway, great pickups. Like I've had them on console and I picked them up on Steam, and they're always on sale. Like, and if you don't get them on sale, like from, you know, like Steam, then go over to CD Keys or you know, any of these like key outlets, and you can get it for relatively cheap. And look, you're not gonna go wrong with it. So outside of that, you guys know that I'm really, really big into fighting games. So I've been playing a lot of, you know, Soul Calibur 6. I've been playing some Samurai Showdown, you know, the 2019 reboot. I've been playing a lot of King of Fighters. And I've been playing Street Fighter 5, which is a game that's not even verified. It's quoted as not supported on the Steam Deck, but it absolutely runs flawlessly. I've run into no issues playing this on the Steam Deck. I don't have any latency problems or anything like that. I'm literally able to go in and pick, you know, Mayor Cody, who's my main character, you know, Cody Travers from Final Fight, and just start bashing skulls, because that's who I play as, both for fun and competitively. And had no issues. Like, even getting matches online has been really good, whether I'm playing wirelessly or I'm playing it connected to the USB-C hub that I have, and it's just run flawlessly. And I'm kind of wondering why it hasn't been verified, because it should be. Because literally playing story mode versus online, the missions, you know, all that, it runs. Even arcade mode just runs perfectly fine. So if you ever see it saying that that's not verified or it's not supported, it actually runs on it. So if you're looking to, you know, get your latest Street Fighter fix, and especially get yourself ready for, you know, the upcoming Street Fighter 6, then Street Fighter 5 is a good place to do it. I would say go and play Street Fighter 4 as well, like Ultra Street Fighter 4. Unfortunately, that one doesn't play. Like, you can go into versus mode, but anything like if you're trying to do arcade mode, I guess because they have two different codecs of how they do like the story cinematic, like the opening, that hangs on the Steam Deck, so it doesn't really work, which is interesting because that's kind of got that question mark if it's unknown if it's verified or if it's playable in the deck. Street Fighter 4 currently is not, and I've tried the different protons for it, and it just doesn't work. But Street Fighter 5 is it perfectly works. So if you're looking to pick that up, or even Street Fighter, you know, the anniversary collection that has like all the Street Fighters, like, well, not all of them, like Street Fighter 1 to Street Fighter 3 and all the in-betweens, if you're looking to pick that up, that also works perfectly fine with no issues. And there's another game that's quote-unquote not supported, but yes, Street Fighter 5, I love playing it on the Steam Deck. Now, another game I'm going to mention, you guys are probably going to say, well, okay, yeah, everyone's talking about playing this, you know, these titles on the Steam Deck. But these titles, and I'm going to kind of, you know, cobble them into one. But I'm playing Elden Ring as well as playing Cyberpunk 2077. Now, the way I'm playing Elden Ring, I do have that on Steam. You know, I have the Ultimate Edition. I got that back when it came out, and I also have it on PlayStation 5, which I thought I would be playing it more on PlayStation 5, but I'm actually playing it more on PC. And now that I've got the Steam Deck, I'm playing it a whole hell of a lot more there. And, you know, granted, it's capped at, well, not really capped, but it runs at like 30 frames per second, but it doesn't bother me as much as I thought it would. I kind of thought that running at 30 frames versus the 60 frames I'm used to on my desktop or laptop or even on my PlayStation 5, I thought that would bother me, but it actually doesn't. So I'm actually really surprised at how well, you know, just running at 30 frames per second just doesn't bother me at all. So that one runs really good. Now, also Cyberpunk 2077, which is a game that I don't have on Steam. I actually have it on GOG. And so what I did was I've done the, you know, the method for installing GOG as well as Epic Games Launcher, and I have both of those launchers able to just work. Like, I go into the launcher and I can just select the game I want to play. Of course, the controls don't work when you're going into the launcher, so you either need to use a mouse or, you know, just use a touch screen and then go to your library and then click on the game you want to play. But once you get into the game, it actually works perfectly fine. So I'm playing Cyberpunk 2077 on GOG. I'm playing Witcher 3 on GOG, and no issues whatsoever. They play like almost like they were on Steam natively. Like there's no issues whatsoever. So those are two. And then if I were to mention like another game that I'm also playing, which is also on Epic Game Store, which is exclusive to Epic Game Store right now, is Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is something I got a review copy of 3 times now, because I think I originally covered on PlayStation 4, and I got a review copy for PlayStation 5, and then I got the Epic Game Store, which is interesting because that's like the Epic Game Store version is the most hated version of that game, and yet I like it. I don't have any issues playing it, and then it runs perfectly fine on the Steam Deck. I ran into a couple sections where the frame rate did kind of dip below 60 and probably hit like 30s or a little bit below. And that was because there's a lot of stuff going down. And also I think natively the graphics are set to 1920 by 1080 instead of 800p or 720p. So when I took the graphics down, then the performance was at a rock solid 60 frames per second. But playing that game on the Steam Deck portably, man, the only other caveat I can think of playing that on the Steam Deck is the fact that it does, for cutscenes, run at 30 frames per second. Sometimes it might go a little bit higher, maybe to 40 frames per second. But ultimately, when you're in gameplay, it's 60 frames per second. So really, really awesome. I'm also playing from Epic Game Store Launcher. I'm playing Genshin Impact, as well as playing Sifu and playing the Tomb Raider collection. Because if you a couple of months ago, they gave you the entire trilogy for the modern Tomb Raider game, so I'm playing those as well. Another game I'm playing, which is actually very interesting because this is actually a demo that's going to be coming to Steam very, very soon, is an indie game called Fallen City Brawl, which is a game made by a friend of mine. I actually know the developer. And if you love like Streets of Rage, or if you love Double Dragon, or old school like brawlers, belt scroller beat 'em ups, then this is a game you're going to want to pick up and play because it's got the visual aesthetic. And another cool thing is another one of my friends who's one of the composers for Street Fighter V for almost the entire roster, Daniel Linham, is actually the composer for this game as well. Like his music is in the soundtrack. And so seeing 2 of my friends work on this indie game is just really, really awesome. It runs with no issues on Steam Deck, looks good, sounds absolutely like Daniel Linham he's one of the most gifted like composers in gaming. So you hear his music, it's absolutely insane. But that game is a lot of fun that I really enjoy playing. Now, I also have been checking out how Gamepass works. So I've been playing a couple titles from Gamepass. I've tried various titles from Forza Horizon 5 to Gears of War 5 to also Halo Infinite. And even I've been trying out NBA 2K22, which is interesting because I'm not really into sports, but I want to test out how the Game Pass works through the Edge browser and how is the latency, how does it feel overall as a whole, and it feels pretty good. Now, when I was playing NBA 2K22, I didn't really run into instances where I had like latency issues. It felt pretty smooth overall. Maybe it's because I was sitting close to my router, but I do have like a 1 gig internet, and I've got mesh network for my my internet across my house. So I didn't really even probably if I went to my living room, I probably wouldn't have an issue because like one of the other the mesh networks is out there too. When I was playing Halo Infinite, it kind of fluctuated a little bit, and that was just because I went to the multiplayer. So I did see noticeable latency there, which you'll see with some of the examples I'll show. And, it was okay. I would say kind of the same thing when it came to like Forza Horizon 5. There was a latency, although you could really just get the Steam version of Forza Horizon 5 if you don't want to use Game Pass. And you won't run into that issue. But I kind of ran into that. But other games that don't require you to like also hop online to play, like The Ascent, worked perfectly fine. I almost felt like I was playing natively on an Xbox. It didn't feel like I was like doing kind of like an RDC into a server network to play the game. So it felt really good. So that's that. And then the last thing I want to talk about that I've been playing on my Steam Deck is a lot of emulation for a lot of retro consoles. I've been diving heavily into the PlayStation 2 library. I've been diving heavily into the Game Boy Advance, Nintendo 64, Super Nintendo, PC Engine, Sega CD, Sega Saturn. I've been diving into, like, I've been on this real retro kick. Like, I've been physically buying the games for, like, I've got the Silent Hill collection. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm kind of working on getting Origins as well, but digitally, as far as this is concerned, I've got all of the PlayStation 2 versions of the game, as well as the original PlayStation 1. And then I've also got, the Resident Evil titles. We have Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I've got, the King of Fighters, 11. I've got Neo Geo games installed, like Rage of the Dragons, which is one of my favorite fighting games. I've got Double Dragon, like the fighting game. And I've got, the Shining series. I've got Golden Sun. Like, the fact that this is kind of an all-in-one emulation center is just really, really great. Now they play perfectly fine. Because I'm using Emu Deck, you will have to, with certain consoles, you have to change out, what emulator that RetroArch is using. And sometimes, if you don't already have all the cores installed, make sure you go and download the cores and then install them. And you may have to do a little tinkering here and there to get them to run perfectly well. But when you do get it running, like I've been playing some Alien versus Predator, some Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, and they just run flawlessly. I've had zero issues whatsoever. And it's just one of those things where it's like, hey, this thing right here, it really is the ultimate gaming device. Now, I'm going to do another video because I know people have been asking me, like, oh, is the Steam Deck the Switch killer? Because you've got videos from folks like Woodhawker, what's the other guy with the receding hairline? Can't think of his name. Wolfden and, Mellow Jesus, and a lot of other people kind of putting it on that pedestal of it could be, but it's not quite. I don't really compare, personally, the Steam Deck and the Switch because they're very different platforms, but I will do a video where I talk about where one has strengths over the other and one has weaknesses over the other. And so we'll dive into that in another video. But if you enjoyed this video, you enjoy the topics of the games I'm playing, then give the video a like. Also, make sure you let me know what games you're playing because I'm very curious to know what titles you're diving to as well. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Sorry if this is a little long video. I just want to, shoot straight from the hip and talk about the games. It's nothing scripted other than what games am I playing. I had to write those out so I didn't forget. And yeah, so hopefully you guys are having a blessed and aloha rest of your day. If you enjoyed the video, like the video, sub to the channel if you enjoyed this content. And if you want to support the content we do, we got Patreon. So patreon.com/MikhailCasanova, as well as channel memberships here on YouTube. And we also have merch on Teespring and TeePublic. But with all that being said, I hope you guys have a blessed and aloha rest of your day. I'll catch you guys in the next one. And all that being said, I'll see you. Peace. Mahalo for making it to the end of the video. And if you found anything of importance or substance that you gained from watching this, make sure you leave a comment down in the comment section below. If you haven't already, make sure you sub to the channel and ding the notification bell. That way you stay up to date on all the content that you get from my channel, from podcasts, streams, reviews, impressions, reactions, and so much more. If you want to support what we do have channel memberships. We've got Patreon, we've got Subscribestar, as well as coffee, which I would love to be drinking some coffee right now, which I am. That's some good coffee. But anyway, we got all of that, and we also have merch on Teespring and TeePublic, so make sure you go check that out. And all that being said, I just hope to see you in the next video that I put out. So hey, see you around.